Welcome back to the Exotic Car Play Place. Mark here again, and today I'm going to cut to the chase. We are going to compare the old tried and true classic Toyota Supra Mark IV with the current generation, the newly released 2019 Toyota Supra with BMW powertrain. We're going to get into that. I'm going to share you specifications, and I'll summarize which one I think actually is the best car. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Mark with Exotic Car Play Place, and today, so let's talk about some of the basic performance numbers. First of all, the new 2019 comes equipped with an inline-six 3-liter turbocharged engine. That's a single turbo twin scroll engine powered by one of your favorites, BMW. And of course, I know if you're a Toyota fan, you probably saw one of my last videos, and this probably stirs something up for you. That being said, that car now produces 335 horsepower at a high 5,500 RPM, and it also produces 332 pound-feet at between 3,800 and 5,200 RPM. Makes it a very tractable drivetrain. Now, how does that compare with the A80 Toyota Supra from the 90s that was basically one of the enthusiasts' favorite car that is still to this day maintains a cult classic status and is highly sought after by many enthusiasts who like them not only stock but also like to highly modify their cars, and that is the A80 generation. That car actually is equipped with also a 3-liter inline-six, but this time this car is a twin turbocharged, sequentially turbocharged engine that produces approximately 320 horsepower and 315 pound-feet of torque. Now, which one reigns supreme between those two? Compare the two. Obviously, the newer car has a marginally amount more horsepower. Is that enough to edge the old classic out? Is it really enough? Is it the engine that really is what will do this car justice? Well, that always boils down to power to weight ratio, of course. So let's get to weight. The new car weighs 1,496 kilograms. Oh, soaking wet, curb weight. And the older 2JZ version actually weighs a little bit more at about 1,510 kilos, putting it at a slight deficit from the new car. Now here's the juicy bits, because a lot of the older generation cars, the 2JZ, is loved by many people, and we know very few of them remain in stock configuration. But we have to compare apples to apples, because at some level, at some point, I would believe that the new car will also be highly modified. Once it sets in and people start getting used to it and actually start accepting it, I would guarantee you that it will start seeing the aftermarket kick in. That being said, 0 to 60 times on the older generation car is 0 to 60 in approximately 5 seconds flat, which makes it exceptionally quick, especially for its day, and still by today's standard, very swift car for sure. How about the new car? Well, there's a few reports, of course, and I'm hearing variable numbers, but at the end of the day, the new car can put 0 to 60 times down of 3.8 seconds. This puts the new car at about a 1 second advantage on the 0 to 60 run. And the quarter mile time I would expect to be very close as well. How about the top speed? Well, we'll see. The old car, there's varying reports of different numbers, and depending on the state of tune, can change. I've seen numbers as high as 186 miles per hour, but generally it was a lot lower than that. The newer car, of course, will likely be governed to 155 miles per hour, as typically tuned by BMW. That would be almost my assumption. It has not yet been tested yet at a top speed run. However, I would expect the new car to be in that 155 mile per hour limited governed speed. So overall, if you're talking about power and power to weight, what would take the cake here? Obviously, if you're talking just sheer numbers, the new car wins out by an edge, I would say. It's a slightly lighter car, has slightly more power, and it translates into a slightly brisker acceleration. Overall, the newer car would be slightly lighter on its feet. It would feel a little crisper out of the hole. That being said, the old car is not lacking anywhere at all. But either way, this goes to the new generation. Now, what about the transmission? Well, we all know that, the old cars, a lot of you guys that are enthusiasts, the old cars came with one of two options, in the turbo format, of course. Either you could get a 6-speed manual transmission or a 4-speed shiftable automatic, of course. The new car, sadly enough, reports now it will only come with an 8-speed auto. And this, for the true enthusiasts, I really have to say, as far as I'm concerned, me being an enthusiast, even though I'm a little bit of a BMW fan, I love all cars that are truly fun to drive. I will easily give this one up to the older generation, the A80 car. No question in my mind, the Mk4 wins hands down on the overall driving feel. Obviously, a translation of driving dynamic, utilizing the stick shift, gives you that sense of, you are operating the car. As the driver, you're truly owning. You're taking that car by the reins. And a lot of these automatics do it so well, but unfortunately, they really do become more disconnected. And of course, performance pays dividends, but, the feel, the excitement of the drive slightly starts to wane with time. That's why Mk4 for the tranny. Now, what about general construction? Well, the new car, if we're talking about the 2019, comes with a perfectly even, if you call 50-50 perfect, and I do, perfectly evenly distributed weight balance. And that translates to exceptional track prowess. And if we talk about track prowess, the new car is also as stiff and rigid as the older LFA with a carbon fiber chassis. Now, this car doesn't have that. However, it's built in such a way that it is truly, in fact, a very, very rigid car, one that is going to excite you in a straight line as well in the corners. It also has a few other tricks up its sleeves, like the adaptive variable suspension. There's going to be a lot of little tricks in the new car that make it not only go quickly, but efficiently and safely, of course. Now, if we talk about the Mk4, there was a few tricks there, but they really, because it was such a bulky, heavy car made of primarily steel construction, Toyota felt there was still some places that they needed to trim some weight. Otherwise, it was going to be just too fat. And so some of the places were things like aluminum hood, and if you had the T-tops, it would give you the aluminum tops. It also had a plastic gas tank, aluminum transmission and engine pans, of course, shed a little bit of weight at the bottom. Magnesium steering wheel virtually left it weightless, and even did away with extra hardware in the exhaust system. It went with a single exhaust just to shed weight. Why have all that extra stainless steel hanging at the back if you don't need it? So in terms of the overall construction, who would you say wins this little battle? I would say largely this goes to the modern car, largely because a lot of the technology is going to lend itself to premium performance in the handling and acceleration. It's going to keep you safer. It's going to allow you to push the car to more limits, particularly on the track environment. While the older car definitely does a lot of great things, and because it's older technology, some would argue that that's what makes it an exciting drive. For sure, it's going to be a little bit more engaging with the manual gearbox. It's definitely going to lend itself to an exciting driving experience. That being said, if you want a really aggressive driving dynamic experience, you want safety, and you want to be able to push the car, to 90% versus 70% on the track, you probably want to lean to the newer car. There's nothing to hate about it. It's just that good. And so we'll talk about one other area, of course, is the interior finishing. There's no question, when you look at the interior of the new car, no question in my mind, it is a BMW. They virtually stripped it from the majority of the BMW lineups. It all starts with the leather. Everything looks very BMW-ish. It all starts with essentially the fit and finish and the parts and the materials to the long, straight, and narrow dash. And of course, the thing that really gives it away is that big iDrive display right smack dab in the middle. When you sit in the driver's seat, it's almost like you're sitting in a BMW. Even the dashboard and the console, down where the control for the shifter is, feels a lot very BMW. The only thing it's lacking is the M and the colors on it. It really does feel like a BMW on the inside. That being said, it's very stark. And honestly, then when you look at the older car, the Mk4, that car truly feels more like you're in a cockpit, like you're in a jet fighter plane. It has a wraparound dash. It really caters to the driving experience. The controls are there. It looks a little busy, but in all honesty, the driving area, the driving perspective in the Mk4 far surpasses in terms of ergonomics, look, and feel in the older car than it does in the new car. And honestly, the interior totally, in my mind, has to go to the older car. Sure, it's got some of the older switchgear and it's got some of the older lights in the dashboard. But outside of that, the feel, the ergonomics, the general layout, and the position, the driver position, feels a lot better in the older car. And again, therefore, I have to choose the older car, the Mk4, for the finishing, the interior of the look, the look of the interior. So I know there's a lot of haters out there, guys, a lot of haters of the new car. The new car is so good. It's fast, it's fuel efficient, and likely it's going to be more reliable than a lot of the M cars because it's not an M engine. It shares the B58 engine from BMW, which essentially is a high performance, standard, more or less standard engine from their standard lineups. It's from the 340s and the 440 series of cars. So it's a high performance engine, but it's not an M engine. And therefore, likely it will not suffer some of the little finicky issues that you typically see in a lot of the M cars. As far as the older generation car goes, we know that there's a lot of enthusiasts out there. And I think what's happening here is, if you saw my last video, you can recognize the basic dollars and cents is a big part of why Toyota likely went with this BMW borrowed engine and transmission. However, at the end of the day, this is possibly a marketing ploy, even to bring some BMW clientele over to the Toyota brand. Very clever, maybe. Hey, there's a thought for you. Didn't really cross my mind until recently. When you think about it, everybody knows that's a BMW drivetrain in that new Supra. Well, the vast majority of Toyota owners are not looking for sports cars. They're looking for Toyota Camrys. They're looking for the Corollas and the hybrids. That is their bread and butter. So what if you want to capture another small marketplace? What if we borrow a powertrain from another company? We know it's another premium brand maker, but we're going to borrow some of their hardware, publicize it, not hide the fact, and hope that eventually we start to see some new clientele trickling through those doors. I think that's a perfect marketing ploy by Toyota, and I think that's a very distinct possibility of one of the game plans that they were looking to optimize their sales on this car. At the end of the day, what you're going to see is the people that love the old school Toyota Supra will likely stick with the older Supra. It's just a totally different car. Yes, it looks very much the same. It performs very much the same, but it has a totally different feel. It has a different sound. And overall, even the driving perspective and the positioning makes it a totally different driving experience. So at the end of the day, these truly are two different cars, and I would expect the new Supra to bring in a whole different bunch of clientele. The older car will still have its strong following. It is such a great car, and honestly, it's a kind of vehicle it will never get old. From the fact that it's reliable and strong from stock format, to it can tolerate 1,000 horsepower plus with some heavy mods and still tolerate that power without blowing it up. It's well loved. It's well loved in the tuner market, as well as, just the enthusiasts who love the style and the car in general. So at the end of the day, what is my favorite between these two cars? Honestly, between these two cars, if I had to choose today, you give me one of each in good shape, I would take the old car. Yes, guys, I would take the Mk4. I have to say that. I've driven them in the past. They are spectacularly substantial. They feel beefy. They're fast. They're sexy. And with that wing on the back, it's an amazing car. Yes, I love the BMWs, and I think the B58 is going to prove some things here in this next couple of years with this new generation. But we'll see. And we'll also see what the reliability looks like on this new generation. That's always going to be up for a question. Everybody knows Toyota is going to lay it down for reliability. BMW, they've got a lot of reliable drivetrains, but not all of them are reliable. And so let's find out what this engine has in store for the new Supra. So everybody, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up, like, share it with your friends, and of course your social media. But most importantly, give me a subscribe down below and hit that little notification bell down there. It'll let you know when the next video is out. Thanks again, everybody. Mark with the Exotic Car Play Place. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.